So a function is a process that turns one number into another number. So I might say I've got x, whatever x is, and a function would turn it into a y. So um, maybe I'd plug a 3 into the function and it would spit out a 6, or maybe I'd plug in a 2 and it would spit out a 4. So I'd have these inputs and they'd be converted into outputs. Okay, so a relation is like a function, but it's a little bit more loosey-goosey. So a relation is just two sets of information that are related together in some way. It's not quite as well defined as a function, and I'll give some examples here that will hopefully make that clear. So let's go to Norfolk Island, and that's an island in the Pacific. Here we are. Boom. Got some gorgeous pine trees all around, grass, blue skies. It's an awesome place, apparently. So we're gonna check out the trees there. We've got these crazy pine trees. Yep, and we're gonna make up some observations. And I want to emphasize make up. I have no idea really what these trees are like, so just bear with me. These numbers are totally made up, but um, so let's say we checked out 5 different trees, and we wrote down the heights of the trees, and we wrote down how many pine cones each one had. So that would be a relation. So we've got, so for example, this tree that's 9 meters tall. Let's pretend that it had 201 pine cones on it. Or this tree that was 10 meters tall didn't have any pine cones. And then we saw another tree that was 10 meters tall and it had 345 pine cones, etc. So we would call this a relation. We've got this set of information, and it's related to this set of information. And actually, the way it's related is um, the the pine cones and the height all belong to the same tree. So if this tree is 9 meters high, it has this many pine cones. So I'm not writing down the number of pine cones for some random tree here. Okay, so that would be a relation. A, a function is a relation, but it is a special kind of relation. The rules are a little bit stricter for a function. In a function, the each input, or the numbers on the left usually by convention, has only one output, or only one number associated with it. What prevents this guy, this relation over here, from being a function is that the number 10 is associated with both 0 and 345. And I rearranged the information to make that a little bit more obvious. So I put these numbers in order of ascending height, and instead of having 2 10s there, I collapse them into one 10. So we have all unique numbers here, 9, 10, 23, and 40. And I just drew arrows to the numbers of pine cones that each one is associated with. So the one that had a height of 9 had 201 pine cones, so 9, 201. Well, the number 10 here, the height 10, um, has both 0 pine cones and 345 pine cones. So for example, if I were thinking of this, wondering if this is a function, and I said, let me put the number 10 into this function. So give me a tree with height 10. How many pine cones does it have? I couldn't really answer that question. The answer could be 0, or it could be 345. I don't really know, because the same number 10 is associated with 2 different values here. So what makes a function, though, is that each input value has exactly one output value. So that if I say, hey man, give me a tree with height 10, how many pine cones does it have? I give you exactly one answer. You know exactly how many pine cones it has. So let's look at another example of a relation that does qualify as a function. So I just made one up here, trunk width in centimeters and number of pine cones. Okay, so this tree had a width of 50 centimeters and 250 pine cones. This had a width of 42 centimeters and 210 pine cones. 10 and 50, 80 and 400, 56 and 280. So if I plug into my function, let's see, let's draw this process. If I say, give me the number of pine cones of a tree when its width is 80. So I plug in 80 and I say, give me the output here. I know there's exactly one number here. I can give you an answer. It's 400. I don't have like a million arrows coming out of this 80. Like if I were to say, give me the number of pine cones with when the trunk width is 80. If I had a bunch of arrows here, I would say I have no clue. It could be 57, could be 3,000. I have no idea. But if it's a function, each input value is associated with exactly one output value, so you can answer that question.